Afternoon. Welcome to BladeWise Volume 4, the fourth installment of the BladeWise series, where we talk about knives and everything related to them. My name's Mike Meredith. I'm owner and operator of Booger Woods Forge. I make custom knives. Most of them, well, about all of them, forged the old-fashioned way with a hammer and an anvil, and very little machine work and a whole lot of hand work in my knives. Today's topic is about survival knives. What is a survival knife, and what makes a good one, what makes a bad one. My definition of a survival knife is any knife that you have on you in a situation when survival is of the essence. Unfortunately, that could be something as little as this old case Whittler. You really wouldn't want to depend on it for a lot of chores, but it can do a lot. It could be anything you've got when a survival situation happens. Naturally, if you're anticipating going into a situation, though, where a protracted survival situation may occur, you're going to take enough knife for the job. A survival knife needs to be one that will do all things for the get-by purpose. Most of them probably won't do much of anything too terribly well. I mean, after all, if you could afford to pack and go heavy, you would take a chainsaw and other necessary gear for cutting trees to make shelters, and there's just a whole lot of stuff that you would take if you could. But as everyone knows, that's not normally possible. The survival knife genre of knives, or a family of knives, really started out, I would have to say, one of the first knives that was thought up for long-term survival purposes had to be the Randall Model 18 during the Vietnam War. And it's a good knife, but it also gave rise to the hollow handle knife, which in the 80s really you could not go into a country store, bait and tackle place. You couldn't get a parade magazine in your Sunday newspaper without an advertisement for some piece of crap like this right here, the Malin M15 survival knife. I got bit by the bug too in 1985. This is right hot on the heels of a bunch of action movies that were geared toward that sort of thing. I don't believe I've got to call them by name. Sadly, these things are there are very few knives that I like to call throwing knives. This is not designed for the purpose of throwing, but it's good for throwing away. I keep it as a souvenir of those good old days. Really and truly, stuff like this gave the hollow-handled survival knife a bad rap, because there were several people at the time that were making them good and solid. Randall was one. Jimmy Lyle of Arkansas, that made the ones for the movies that we had talked about, made an excellent, really solid design. Chris Reeve at the time, from I believe South Africa is where he came from, then moved to Idaho. He made probably the most solid design in the field of the hollow handle knife. And the idea of that hollow handle is, in case anybody is new to this, it carries stuff like fish hooks and everything, and the smart ones that built good ones put the compass on the inside. Really, there's nothing in that hollow handle that you couldn't carry in a 35mm film canister in a cargo pants pocket. So it's useless, really, but it's nice to know that it's all there. Another thing about them that I keep going back to this thing, one of the prerequisites of a 1980s survival knife design was that it have saw teeth on it. These saw teeth are terrible. I think that saw teeth do serve a purpose on some survival knives, if for no other reason than to make notches for traps that you might be seeing, like figure fours or leg breakers. Anything else you're going to if you want to cut some small poles to make you a shelter, or to make you a handle for a spear to use that knife to hunt with, well, then you would just hopefully have a big enough, heavy enough blade that you would just go ahead and hack it down like with using a hatchet. In the modern era, survival knife has come to mean a lot of different things. I think a lot of people have gotten away from the hollow handle design, and with good reason, because the tang on a hollow handle knife only comes up to about here most of the time, here at the very most, and it has to be bolted on some way. And it's got a lot of bad press because, well, it's not stout or whatever. It can be made very stout. The old Chris Reeve one-piece designs, they were made of one solid piece, so there was no way that you're going to break one of those. Matter of fact, I don't think that Lyle ever had one break at the tang juncture either. If you're interested in those type of knives, there are several manufacturers today that are still making great hollow handle knives. Black Star is one that comes to mind right now. Another one, Martin Knives out of Texas. Then the guys that did the old hollow handle Timberline knives, Neely and all them, they're still out there, and they're still really great knives. I had a young man that's also a firefighter, EMT, approached me not long back, and he said that he wanted me to make him a survival knife. And we got to talking about what he was looking for in a survival knife, and he wanted something solid, full profile tang construction, something that was going to be up to the chore, cutting wood, splitting wood, could be used as a weapon, because in a survival situation a weapon may probably not against other people, but against critters in the wild or whatever, it can be a factor. But he wanted it to be a weapon second and a survival utensil first, and I think that's what really all survival knife design should follow that. And this is what I came up with. Another side note, he's an avid fan of zombie movies and zombie hunting shows, and this kind of influenced it too in a way, but I think his take on that's pretty much like mine. We don't believe it's real, we don't believe it could be real, but if it ever does become real, we're going to have a lot of fun with it. This knife is forged out of one solid piece of 5160 steel. As a matter of fact, it used to be a leaf spring. As you can tell, the thickness of this blade is very substantial. It is almost 5/16 of an inch thick. You're not going to hurt this knife. I zone hardened it when it was heat treated, meaning only this part from here down on your cutting edge is hardened. The rest of it's soft. It'll be rather forgiving. I rounded this off just a little bit so as not to eat up a baton too much if you want to use this to baton it through a solid piece of timber for splitting it. The handles on this, when I ordered the handle scales, were purported to be black and tan G10. To me, there's more hues of blue in there than there is tan, and a lot of white. I don't know where tan comes into that equation, but it definitely is not showing up, and I've got pretty good color vision, so it's not showing up here. I don't know if it was mislabeled or what, but anyway, it's a good looking handle material, and it's a solid handle material too. It's not like you're gonna hurt it that much. A lot of knives that are made like this are machined. I'm not a machinist. I'm more of a smith. I made this forged that leaf spring out flat. Did a little bit more stock removal on it than I normally like to do in a project, but it's what it called for, and that's what I did. We have these 2 holes here and 2 holes here for you can lay a pole this way and lash it to it and make a solid spear out of it if you want to. Put this little notch here for stripping sinew out of muscle. which can be used as cordage as well. You can't really tell it. I'm not sharpening this thing all the way because I've yet to build a sheath for it. That's going to come Monday. But in forging this, it's tapered a lot thinner in this section right here than it is here. Here, as you can tell that where the sharpening lines begin, I've had to come up a little bit higher on it. It's going to be a little bit more of a hatchet edge and this is going to be more, you know, razor sharp. That way you can use this for draw shaving, numerous chores that you might run into in a situation like that, and this will be used more for chopping. This steel has what I call a spirit to it. I mean, it's nothing supernatural about it, but it's just lively in the hand. It feels really good. It's nowhere near as clunky as you would expect a knife like this to be. Also, with him being a firefighter, he also wanted a little a sharpened point on the back side of it for breaking glass. Having been one myself and knowing a lot of firefighters, we're just preoccupied with the notion of breaking glass because, hey, it's fun. But anyway, that's the kind of survival knife that I've come up with. I'm going to be making more survival knives. This one may be a little bit more, feel a little bit more like a fighter to some people. Than to me, it's not. To me, for a fighter, it needs to be a little bit longer and it needs to be a lot lighter. But it's got a 9-inch blade on it. The handle feels good in your hand. Another thing that I did with this is I've seen similar designs that the handle scale stops short of the profile of the steel, and I just don't, that doesn't make sense to me. That's going to create all kind of hot spots on your hand. You're not going to be able to use that long in a while unless you've got paws that, you know, feel like bottom of a dog's foot or something. Going back to the saw teeth on a knife, I've had people tell me, well, you know, I've had people ask me upon seeing this, why didn't I put saw teeth on it? And one of the reasons was he's got a multi-tool that he carries with him everywhere he goes and has a suitable saw on it for making notches and everything, so he didn't feel like he needed that, and I didn't either. Another thing, any place that I put these saw teeth on these, I might have put them here, but I think it's best to leave this surface flat for being able to baton with and drive it through wood. Like I said, you're not going to hurt that knife. It's good. It's solid. It's built to take it. It's rugged, and that's what you want in a survival situation. A lot of people like the saw teeth on their knife because they say, well, it'll help me rip the skin off a downed aircraft. If you're in the military, yeah, go ahead and go with that. If you're a civilian, I don't know if you've been through this little thing called TSA here lately, but they ain't going to let you carry no knife like this. They ain't going to let you carry a pair of fingernail clippers on a plane. So you're probably living in a fantasy world if you think you're going to be doing any of that. But anyway, I call this the BFSK. It stands for Big Survival Knife, and the F is silent. But anyway, I welcome any comments or questions about it. Thanks again for watching Blade Wise Volume 4. If you haven't seen my other ones, go back through them, watch those as well. I want to thank Jenny for putting this together for me. Without her, it would be entirely impossible for me to do a lot of what I do. I really want to thank her for that. Until next time, stay sharp, stay safe.